From the moment Jey Uso stepped out of the shadow of the bloodline, fans knew something was different. He wasn't just another tag team guy trying to survive on his own. He was carrying something deeper. Every look in his eyes, every silent pause before a match, every promo that felt a little too real, it was all telling a story bigger than the one WWE was scripting. This wasn't just character work. This was a man unraveling pain on live television, and somehow, WWE saw the ratings gold in it. Jey Uso wasn't chosen for the Bloodline storyline by accident. He was picked because his pain was visible, because when he broke down on TV, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like confession, and WWE leaned into it, hard. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because we break down what WWE won't say out loud. Every day we take you deeper into the real stories behind the screen. The rivalry with Roman Reigns wasn't just about tribal warfare or championship gold, it was personal. WWE took the real-life family tension, the historic pressure of living up to a legendary wrestling dynasty, and turned it into an emotional battlefield. The storyline wasn't scripted to be just another feud. It was structured to mirror Jey's real-life mental battles, his struggle with identity, with loyalty, with being overlooked. Every time Roman dominated him on screen, it wasn't just about character dynamics. WWE was playing with the layers of emotion that already existed. And fans connected because they saw themselves in Jey. Not just the wrestler, but the human being trying to stand tall after being broken down by his own blood. But here's the truth. WWE didn't protect Jey Uso. They exposed him. While Roman got to carry himself as the cold, calculating champion, Jey became the emotional core of the entire story. He cried, he screamed, he collapsed. And WWE's cameras didn't look away. They zoomed in. Week after week, the storyline intensified, but it was always Jey who bore the weight. When Jimmy betrayed him, it wasn't just another heel turn. It was the final emotional stab that made people question how much more Jey could take. And WWE knew exactly what they were doing. They kept pulling on that same emotional thread. They crafted moments that felt too real, too raw to be fiction. Because it wasn't fiction, it was Jey giving them everything. The moments he stood silently in the ring while Roman talked down to him, those weren't pauses for dramatic effect. Those were silences loaded with everything unsaid between family. WWE blurred the lines so deeply between story and reality that fans didn't know where one ended and the other began. And that was the point. WWE wanted you to feel every ounce of Jey's pain because pain sells. Ratings climb when drama feels real. And Jey Uso was the perfect vessel. When the crowd erupted every time he walked out solo, it wasn't because of catchphrases or merchandise. It was because fans felt like they were supporting someone trying to heal in front of them. But instead of giving him a solid solo run or letting him escape the trauma-filled arc, WWE kept looping him back into the same pain. Just when it seemed like he was ready to move on, he'd be thrown into another betrayal, another breakdown. Even when Jey went to Raw and started getting momentum, it didn't take long for WWE to weave the same emotional notes back into his arc. They built up the illusion that he was finally rising, only to have him lose key matches, be overshadowed by others, or dragged back into bloodline-adjacent angles. And what makes it worse? Jey never asked for this spotlight. He didn't politic for the main event. He didn't demand a solo push. He was pulled into it because his story was too real to ignore, and WWE didn't want to miss the opportunity. So they milked every drop of real emotion they could. Every segment was designed not to build Jey, but to break him again. This wasn't bad booking by accident. It was deliberate. Jey's emotional breakdowns became a storytelling device. He wasn't being built as a strong solo star. He was being used as a reset button for WWE drama. And every time he showed signs of growth, WWE would cut it off. Not to bury him, but to reopen the wound. They knew that Jey's reactions, his pain, his silence, those moments were more powerful than 1,000 scripted promos. So they kept writing the pain back in. When Cody Rhodes came into the mix, Jey was made to play second fiddle. When Gunther's rise needed a boost, Jey became the sacrificial star. Over and over again, Jey Uso gave everything to these storylines. his emotion, his vulnerability, his real-life mental battles, and WWE took it all and put it under the spotlight, not to celebrate it, but to control it. Behind the scenes, there's no doubt that Jey had input in his character. But the question is, how much say does anyone really have when the machine sees your pain as profit? And WWE profited, big time. The Bloodline arc is considered one of the most compelling in modern wrestling history, and Jey was the emotional backbone of all of it. Yet he didn't walk away with titles, with the biggest pushes or the protected finishes. He walked away with more emotional scars layered onto his character. And maybe himself. This is the same company that's known for exploiting real-life pain before. From real deaths turned into storylines, to personal losses used for crowd heat, nothing's off the table when it comes to getting people to tune in. And with Jey, they had something raw, something real. They didn't need to write pain. He brought it to them naturally. That's why his matches feel heavier. That's why the crowd responds louder to him than most top stars. But that's also why WWE never lets him truly win. Because a healed Jey Uso isn't as marketable. A victorious, fully independent Jey doesn't cry on cue. He doesn't shake before matches. He doesn't bring that heavy silence before the bell rings. And WWE doesn't want that. They want the broken version. The one that barely stands but still fights. The one that gives them emotional gold every single week. If you've watched closely, you'll see it. Jey is always set up to fall. Not because WWE wants him to lose, but because they want him to keep hurting. And the fans feel that. They cheer not because he's winning, but because they want him to escape. They want him to be free of the storyline prison WWE keeps locking him in. Look back at the timeline. Every big emotional moment in WWE over the past 3 years, Jey was in the center of it. Every shocking betrayal, every near-tier promo, every gasp-worthy Raw or SmackDown segment, it always comes back to him. But where's the payoff? Where's the world title run? Where's the moment where WWE finally says, this guy has earned more than just sympathy? That moment never comes. Because Jey's value to WWE isn't as a champion, it's as a mirror to the audience's emotions. And that's why they keep him chasing, keep him struggling, keep him crying. Because the second Jey wins, the second he's at peace, the emotional power disappears. So WWE keeps the pain alive. Whether it's pairing him in short-term tag teams, dragging out feuds that reopen old wounds, or placing him in rivalries that force him to confront betrayal again and again, it's all by design, and fans are noticing. They want more for him, not just storyline closure, but real character growth. But WWE knows that growth doesn't trend, pain does. And as other stars like LA Knight, Sami Zayn, and even Solo Sikoa begin to rise, Jey continues to be the emotional sacrifice for bigger moments. WWE uses him like a tuning fork. They strike him when they need the audience to feel something heavy, and it always works. What hurts more is watching Jey's peers get long-term payoffs while he stays stuck in emotional limbo. LA Knight was hot and WWE rode the wave. Sami got his pop and they protected him. But Jey? They keep throwing him back into storms he didn't start. There's a reason why Jey's fans are the loudest. It's not just about performance. It's because they see a man being pulled back into darkness every time he inches toward the light. And the longer WWE drags it out, the more transparent it becomes. They never had an ending planned, just a cycle. And Jey's still stuck in it. And maybe the most frustrating part? WWE knows exactly what it's doing. This isn't creative confusion or a lack of direction. This is calculated. They understand the power Jey holds with the audience, but instead of elevating him, they anchor him. Because if he climbs too high, they lose the story. They lose the man the fans cry with, the one they chant for out of pure empathy. You don't see them doing this with Roman Reigns. You don't see them writing pain arcs for Seth Rollins or Gunther. They give those guys protection, dominance, legacy. With Jey, they give him flashlights in dark tunnels that never lead out. Even the way commentary talks about him gives it away. He's always fighting through adversity, always emotionally torn, always conflicted. When was the last time you heard anyone say Jey Uso was dominant, focused, unshakable? They don't want him to be. They want him torn so they can keep crafting drama out of his breakdowns. Behind the scenes, the locker room respects him. That's not even in question. Jey is seen as one of the most reliable workers in the company. He puts people over, delivers in big moments, and never phones it in. But on screen, WWE rarely rewards that loyalty. They just ask for more pain, more losses, more emotional moments that feel like therapy sessions for the crowd. And the scary part? Jey Uso is now boxed into that role. If he ever turns heel again, fans might reject it. If he wins big, WWE might panic. Because this character arc only works if he's losing something. It only works if he's chasing peace he's never allowed to reach. That's not long-term storytelling. That's emotional manipulation. And now, with other stars rising fast, like Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, Solo Sikoa stepping further into the spotlight, Jey risks becoming the emotional stepping stone for the next generation. WWE may keep using his trauma as a launchpad for everyone else's career. Think about it. Every time someone needs to prove themselves, they face Jey. Because beating him doesn't bury him. It just adds more sadness to his legend. The more he loses, the more WWE can keep spinning the same sympathy arc. And the fans, as loyal as they are, can only watch that cycle so many times before it starts feeling cruel. That's the trap Jey is in right now. The fans scream, "Yeet!" Not because of branding. It's because it's one of the few moments of joy they get with him. When Jey dances on his way to the ring, when he throws up his hand and the crowd erupts, it's a moment of light before WWE drags him back into another breakdown. And that moment's getting shorter every week. You'll notice it in the booking. The hope is smaller. The push lasts a week, maybe two. Then he's losing clean again. Not because he's not over, but because WWE doesn't want him to peak. They want him to simmer just under the surface, forever ready to break again when the story needs him. It's not just unfair, it's unsustainable. You can't keep a star stuck in grief forever. Eventually, the audience either disconnects or starts turning their sympathy into frustration. WWE is playing a dangerous game by dragging Jey through this emotional loop with no real reward. People have been saying for months that he deserves more. Not just a belt, but closure, a completed arc, a run that isn't built around sadness or trauma, but strength. But WWE has yet to give him that. Instead, they keep feeding him into angles that require him to re-experience pain over and over again. There's still time to change the direction. The crowd is still behind him. The connection is still real. But WWE needs to give him that cathartic release, that moment where everything he endured pays off. Not just in a win, but in a true elevation. Because if they don't, it won't be long before fans stop chanting in support and start chanting in protest. And when that happens, it won't be Jey they're turning on. It'll be WWE's refusal to let him breathe.